While some blind dates turn into happily ever afters, others descend into nightmare territory. From the bad, to the ugly, to the downright outrageous, take a look at 10 blind dates that went terribly, terribly wrong. Nightmare at the Blood Bank. Blind dates sometimes mean blind plans too. A college freshman went on her first date with a guy who took her to a blood bank because he needed cash for their date. After spending the first half of their date hooked up to an IV, they got fast food sandwiches, a case of beer, and headed to the beach. She immediately felt sicker than she ever had in her life and threw up all over the beach, while he continued to drink the beer. What a bloody nightmare. Scabby Nightmare. A man went on a blind date with a woman who was obsessed with picking her scabs. She straight up just made a pile of them on the restaurant table where they were eating. He excused himself to go to the bathroom, and when he came back, the soup they ordered was on the table, but the scabs were gone. Whether she threw them away or put them in the appetizer, we'll never know. Needless to say, he didn't eat the soup. Family issues. Melissa decided to take her friend's advice and go out with a guy who they thought would be a perfect match for her. She immediately regretted her decision and questioned her choice of friends when he launched into telling her all about his horrific home life. As soon as he stepped foot into the restaurant, he began telling her about his schizophrenic mother and the denture plate of his deceased father, which he kept in his pocket for luck. He also took the liberty to show it to her. And to top it all off, he finished by saying, "Nice boobs, by the way. What a winner." 2 for 1. A woman asked the man she was going on a blind date with if her best friend could tag along too. To be nice and polite, he said of course. He assumed it would be one of her girlfriends, but in fact it was a guy. Not only that, it was her ex-boyfriend, who had remained her best friend, although apparently nothing was going on between the two. How incredibly awkward. Niece to know ya. Andy's boss was adamant that he go on a date with her niece, telling him over and over again how sweet she was and how much he loved her. When date night came, he realized that was opposite from the truth. She showed up in a very revealing outfit, chain smoked the entire time they were together, and would not stop cursing. She also got completely wasted and ended up puking on the car ride home. Nice. Switching teams. When Elizabeth's roommate set her up with her cute friend, she was so excited for their date to the movies. But when the movie ended and they headed out for drinks, she couldn't help but feel a little off. First, he told her that he had been on a date with a guy. Then he started flirting with a man at the table next to them, telling him that he had beautiful eyes. It seems like perhaps she should have left the two of them on their own. Taxi cab matchmaker. After taking a cab ride home and getting on the topic of relationships, Laura accepted to be set up with a good-looking Wall Street guy by her cab driver. She took the chance, and after a few successful phone dates, they headed out to dinner. It all went downhill from there. 80% of their conversation revolved around his Jersey Shore party days and how many women he had slept with. He even shared with her that he had had an STI in the past. Honesty isn't always the best policy. Sore loser. Anne-Marie met her blind date at a sports bar to watch a March Madness basketball game. The whole time, he sat enamored by the game and only acknowledged her to rub it in her face that her team was losing. Then, her team started picking it up, tying the game with 3 seconds to spare. Her date ran to the men's room, and her team ended up winning in overtime. When he returned from the bathroom, he threw down a $10 bill in disgust and walked out, leaving her alone. Busted, buddy. A woman went on a date with a local heartthrob who brought her to a concert across the border. They carpooled with another couple and were pulled over for a body and car search. Little did she know, he had brought some little white pills along and forced them all to take some so he wouldn't get busted. They turned out to be mescaline, and when they got to the concert hall, she started tripping out and he kept disappearing, only to come back to their seats with another girl. He even asked her if she'd mind if they gave his friend a ride home with them after she busted them making out. Mountain climbing mishap. When Ado planned to go mountain hiking on a first date, she wasn't planning on the events that would occur. Her date took magic mushrooms without her knowledge, and when they got to the top, he began leaping through the grass like a gazelle. To make things even worse, Ado had a severe allergic reaction to the tall grasses, so much so that she couldn't stop sneezing and her eyes swelled shut. Her date had to lead her back down the mountain, pausing from time to time to get his bounding leaps in. We hope you enjoyed this video. Here are more of our featured videos that you may like.